Welcome to the end of 1917, everyone. So I wanted to give a quick recap. See how well people are doing when it comes to technology. I'm very pleased where Germany is right now with diplomacy, and so we're moving well across that way. As you saw in Brian's last video, those dastardly Japanese turncoat joined the other side. And so a lot of stuff, including the Japanese Navy, are starting to move west because there's not much threat over in the east, with the exception of the German presence still in the Marshall Islands, Kaiser Wilhelm Land, up there in German Shandong. I don't think that'll last much longer. The real highlight is the German activity around Paris. And you see some bits and pieces in Russia in the summer of 1917 are in the game that Brian and I are playing. The Russians collapsed. And so during this game, when the Russians collapse, on the turn they collapse, the Central Powers must make one more attack to convince them to sue for peace. And so on that turn, all the Russians can do is collect income and but they can't attack. They can only defend. They can't do diplomacy. They can't do technology. Their government's in shambles. And after that, you set up for the Civil War. So you see part of the Civil War set up with Poland and Ukraine and Finland and rebellion, and then White Russians all across the landscape. And the reason the Reds aren't set up, or the Soviets, is because Brian will be doing that. And when we get online together, he will tell me where to place those units. There's a minimum number of infantry and cavalry and Cossacks and artillery and airplanes that will be placed down. And so the other challenge of the Soviet collapse is any Central Powers units in Russia have to stay there. They have to stay there to convince the Soviets to go ahead, or the Russians to sue for that peace. And once they sue for that peace, now I can start moving units west. So that was the summer of 17. Now it's the fall, winter of 17. I will be making my fourth attempt to take Paris. As you can tell, once again, I've got it surrounded on 3 of the 5 sides around the city. But I'm going to assault it, even though it's entrenched, and even though there will only be one attack turn. One of the things that worked in my favor is a random event. There were French infantry that mutinied, and so that reduced his available manpower in Paris. That's going to be significant in my favor, and so I'm going to take advantage of it. I don't have long, as you can tell. Not only were the Japanese coming along, British ships, more British ships, French ships, more British ships, American ships, more French ships, and British ships. And so even though the German Navy is as healthy as you could expect in this game, and I am buying more, it's just not going to last long, not with all that coming at it. I lost my German presence in Mexico. Americans have finally been successful, and so I've got to take Paris. I got to knock the French out of the war. Even the Italians are building up, and I'm not sure the Hungarians, Austro-Hungarians, can hold them off long. They'll be able to move some forces out of Russia, but not many. And honestly, I'm surprised the Ottomans lasted this long. They've lost Palestine. They're probably going to lose southern Iraq this turn. They lost their navy to a crazy assault against the Crimea, which just didn't turn out well for them. So here we go into the next turn. We'll see what Brian has in store for me.